I couldn't believe the nonsense Nikki, my 7-year-old wife, had just thrown at me. In just a few minutes, I realized how little she really cared about me. We were at a mountain resort for her older sister Kirsten's bachelorette party, which was her third marriage. I couldn't help but wonder how she managed to snag her current fiancé. Was it her money or some kind of pressure? With her legal background, I thought she must have forced him to sign a long prenup, using tactics straight out of the Middle Ages. So, the day before Wednesday, we decided to hit up one of the hot tubs at the resort. Earlier, Kirsten had jokingly mentioned the risk of running into naked guys in hot tubs. I thought she was just messing around, but turns out she was right. When we got to the baths, it seemed like clothing was totally optional. I spotted 5 dudes across from us in the buff, which confirmed my suspicions. They casually got out of the tub, dried off, and chilled on their recliners like it was no big deal. But one tall guy. Oh, there's this buff dude with long hair pulled back in a ponytail chilling by the hot tub, one leg propped up. I caught Nikki eyeing him from a distance, totally checking out his, package. Before I get into all that, let me give you some context. I'm Ned Carson, and Nikki is my wife. I'm 39, she's a bit younger at 32. I used to be a cop, but that all ended when I got shot on the job. Before I met Nikki, I got fired. She was one of the physical therapists who helped me get back on my feet after my injury. Walking ain't easy for me, but I managed to get by. After leaving the force, I started doing private investigation work. Luckily, most of my gigs involve sitting at a desk or doing surveillance from my car, so I didn't have to do too much physical stuff. I was working with a seasoned detective until he passed away from a heart attack. Now, I'm taking over his duties and reporting to my old boss. So me and Nikki were together, we fell in love and got hitched. The first 5 years of our marriage were awesome, or at least I thought so. But then a few years back, I found out I had type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol, on top of my 2-pack-a-day smoking habit. Even with medication, my bedroom game took a hit and trying to quit smoking just made me cranky. Nikki was cool at first, we tried to work through it all. I tried to make sure she was satisfied, even though my energy was lacking. But Nikki slowly. She used to be such a sweet and loyal partner, but now she's turned into this bossy and constantly angry person that I hardly even recognize. Nothing I do seems to make her happy anymore. And to top it off, our relationship has been going downhill for the past year, despite all my efforts to fix things. I thought maybe a trip to the mountains would help bring back the spark, but it became clear that our relationship was beyond saving when I caught her flirting shamelessly with another guy in front of me. Man, I felt like I knew him, but I couldn't figure out where from. Nikki had mentioned hanging out with her sister on Thursday, so I decided to hit the golf course instead. I came back earlier than I thought and got ready to take Nikki out for dinner and dancing, hoping to get lucky later on. As I was getting dressed, Nikki walked in wearing a bathrobe, her hair still wet and her cheeks all rosy. She sat on the bed and just looked at me for a bit. I thought you were going shopping with Kyron, I said. I changed my mind, she replied. I said I went to the hot tub instead. I see, I replied. Has anyone seen any nude men today? Yes, she replied with a grin. Ramon Torres had a pony. He works at a film studio in the West. Would you like him? That's when something clicked. I recognized him immediately. Indeed, Torres works at a film studio, but his work may not appear on the big screen. It's usually not very good. So you got to know this Roman guy, I remarked. Briefly, she confessed with a snort, and some of his friends. I see, I replied. Have you had a wonderful time, she admitted. This is the life. Man, the best I've had in years. Was this all part of the plan? I asked her and her mood totally changed, like the shrew from hell returned. Yeah, she admitted, but just for a bit. I didn't even recognize the woman in front of me. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "You have no idea. For years, you were the only one I was getting down with, but the last 2 years have been pure torture. I need intimacy, but you can't get it up half the time." Do you get why? She challenged. It's those damn drugs the doctor gave me, I replied. It's not my fault. Of course it's your fault, she ended things after all those years. Man, we both messed up by smoking, drinking, eating junk food, and not exercising. Now we're feeling the consequences. I need a guy who's strong and not just giving me everything I want. I need someone who takes charge, not a desk jockey who avoids problems. I was completely blindsided when she told me something I couldn't believe. I shook my head in shock, wondering if this nightmare was real. But she wasn't finished. Do you know what he did? She asked with a smirk. He told me to strip right in front of everyone. Hey, did you hook up with everyone like I asked? I questioned. I can already tell the answer is yes, she replied, taking off her robe to show she was naked. Did you do anything physical with them too? I asked, though I already knew the truth. She laughed as she admitted, yeah, I got down with all of them. We had a threesome and I let them all have their way with me. Do you know anything else? I asked, trying to control my anger. They're on their way, she said quietly. Right now she's getting ready to jump me in bed while you're watching, she said. I got up from bed and grabbed my suitcase from the closet. What are you up to now? She asked. I ran away like a coward. I took a deep breath and counted to 10 before answering. I remembered what they said about Ramon. It made me furious. He had this awful habit of luring women in with sex and drugs, then forcing them into adult films. Once he was done, he'd just leave them to fend for themselves as broken women. The authorities tried to stop him multiple times, but if you were smart, I'd tell you to leave too, but I guess wisdom ain't your thing. Have fun doing whatever, but we're done. Tell your sister I said hi. I grabbed my stuff and headed for the door. You really gonna ditch me like this? She smirked, teasing. Yep, I'm out, I declared. I'm done with your games and I won't be your puppet anymore. Goodbye. With those words, I left the room. As I walked down the hallway, I saw Ramon and his crew coming towards me. Once they left, I yelled out to him, Ramon. He turned to look at me and asked, "What's up?" I took off my wedding ring and tossed it to him, saying, "She's all yours if you want her." He caught it and replied with a smirk, "I'm done with her," before slipping the ring into his pocket. "Whatever you say, man," I responded with a laugh as he walked away. I got in my car and drove off, stopping to grab a pack of smokes and a six-pack of beer. At that moment, I didn't care about what would happen to me next. I just wanted to drown my sorrows or break something. A few hours later, I was back home. Nikki didn't bother to call or say sorry, and I was kinda expecting it. Forget it, I thought to myself. With plenty of time left in the day, I decided to take matters into my own hands. If Nikki thought she could pull off some sneaky move and come back home like nothing happened, she was dead wrong. I called a locksmith and got all the locks changed immediately. I was willing to pay extra for quick service. I grabbed a beer and sat on the back porch, jotting down a list of things I needed to get done. I was on top of it. After dealing with a bunch of cheating cases, usually the husband gets screwed over while the woman walks away half-free. I couldn't even file for divorce based on cheating because of those stupid no-fault laws. So, I made a plan, had a few more beers, smoked some cigarettes, and went to bed hoping it was all just a bad dream. But nope, I woke up the next morning, checked my phone, and still no change of heart from Nick. There's no calls or texts, just complete silence. I quickly drank my coffee and called Nick Parsons, a famous lawyer we both know. After I told him what was going on, he said he'd draft up the divorce papers. We agreed to serve them to Nikki at our workplace on Monday for maximum impact. Ned, you know what to do. Nick warned me not to do anything stupid. I told him I had it under control. He emphasized the importance of talking to my boss about having someone keep an eye on my wife. And Ned, I don't want you getting caught up in this mess. Keep your distance as much as possible. As far as I could tell, I understood. After our chat, I rang up my boss Paul Drake. "Hey Ned, I thought you and the missus were up in the mountains," he said. "What's up, everything cool?" "Not really, Paul," I admitted. He listened as I spilled the beans. "Damn," he muttered when I finished. "That's tough. Want me to send someone to keep an eye on things?" "Yeah, that would help," I agreed, but it had to be someone Nikki didn't know. "I got this, Ned," Paul reassured me. "I've handled similar situations before. Take Nick's advice and hey, don't get into any trouble. I'll send someone over right away." "Thanks, Paul, I really appreciate it." After we hung up, I went to the bank to split our accounts and cancel Nikki's credit card. I thought about canceling her ATM card too, but decided to keep it active to see what she's spending. I did lower the daily withdrawal limit though. Then I went to another bank to open an account just in my name. Stopped at a diner for a pastrami sandwich before heading home, knowing there was nothing else I could do but wait. Eventually, I realized it was time to check myself out. I knew I had to do something. I hopped on the bathroom scale and saw that I weighed 98 kilograms. Looking at myself in the mirror, I noticed traces of my old body, but some fat had built up in my once toned muscles, making them softer. It's no wonder Nikki wasn't interested in being intimate anymore. I'm not surprised, to be honest. I wouldn't want to be close in my current shape. I remembered the doctor telling me to manage my diabetes by keeping my weight under 200 pounds, even though I initially ignored his advice. Nutrition advice I had second thoughts about. Nikki might have been right in some ways. I had let myself go, but she didn't have to act that way if she really cared about me. I figured if she truly loved me, she would have spoken up sooner. So, I made up my mind to make a change and completely revamp everything. I grabbed the phone book and a pack of cigarettes, and headed out to the back porch to search for gyms nearby. After finding a couple, I planned to check them out as soon as possible. Yo, I was just about to dip when my phone started ringing. I picked up, even though it was from a weird number. Turns out it was Carson. I heard a chick's voice on the other end, so I was like, yo, where you at, Ned? It was Kirsten, but we hadn't really talked much before, so I was taken aback by her call. I told her I bounced last night. She asked why she was asking, and she said they were just curious about what went down. She said Nikki was all messed up and had gone to chill. She said she had never seen her like that. She went on to say that there was some beef between us and I had dipped. What's the deal? She asked if you should ask her, I said. Is everything okay between you two? She pushed back, no, that's not it. I explained, did you know that Ramon Torres and his team are at the resort? She confirmed, yes, they're gonna provide entertainment for our bachelorette party. I also set it up for them to bring a film crew. Why? I asked. Just curious, I dodged. Did Nikki know? I asked. Yeah, I told her, Kyron responded. Honestly, I was surprised to see you there. It was supposed to be a girl's thing, but if you both enjoy it. That lifestyle ain't my problem, so you knew she was gonna hook up with me. I confirmed, yeah, we all knew. She was like, why you asking? Is there a problem? There's nothing I can't handle. I made sure to keep things on the down low. Do you want me to tell Nikki to give you a call? Kirsten offered, but I said nah, no need. Just have fun, alright? Kyron advised that she still loves you, and when she's done, she'll come back to you. It's just love, man. No, it's more than that, I disagreed. It's cold-hearted. Can't believe that backstabbing plan actually went down. Calm down, Kirsten, it's just a weekend. You'll pick her up on Sunday, right? No way, I said firmly. She can find her own way home. She's not welcome here. I heard Kirsten gasp, but I didn't care. Goodbye, Kirsten, I said, hanging up the phone. Feeling frustrated and angry, I thought about punching a wall, but I decided to hit the gym instead. I took out my anger on the punching bag until my arms felt like noodles, then I took a shower. As I was getting dressed, a man asked me, "Are you okay?" I asked. I glanced up and saw one of the trainers standing nearby. "Not really, but thanks for asking," I replied. "I noticed you on the punch bag," he said. "I was worried you might hurt yourself. Do you want to talk about it?" What the hell, I thought. "Sure, take a seat," I said. I took a deep breath as he sat down beside me on the bench, waiting patiently. Eventually, I spilled everything. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said sympathetically. "Call me Ned," I requested. "Okay, Ned," he replied. "Listen, if you want to get back in shape, I can help. But I believe in you. Yo, if you're looking for a great therapist, you need more than just shedding pounds." After some thinking, I realized he was right. I was a hot mess, both physically and emotionally. I was like, what the heck, and agreed that I could use all the help I can get. He chuckled and gave me a business card that read Rose Carlson, counselor. Give her a call, he suggested. He said she's amazing, especially in situations like mine. I said, I'll do it. Oh, and by the way, I couldn't help but notice you're favoring your left side. He pointed to my leg and I told him about my injury from shooting. He listened carefully, nodding and understanding. He offered to help me with that if I was interested. He also mentioned that they could assist with my diet and exercise plan, tailored specifically for people with diabetes. Are you ready to commit to this? After thinking about it, I said yes, absolutely. I agreed with a nod, knowing I needed to take action soon. Okay, he said. Let's get you signed up. By the way, I'm John. John Green. He reached out his hand for a shake and I accepted. Ned Carson introduced himself. Carson repeated, I recognize the name. Wait a minute, you're the cop who saved my grandma during a bank heist, right? This was like 8 years ago. I got shot during the robbery. It's awesome to finally meet you. How's your grandma? I asked. She's doing fine, JN confirmed. Thank you for asking. He then took me to the front desk and signed me up for a weight loss and strength training program. He introduced me to his co-workers, bragging about my heroics, and they all thanked me. Hey, if you got any questions just ask. After our meeting, JN recommended we get in touch with Rose, and I said I would. Thanks for everything, John. When I left the gym, I felt a sudden burst of energy that I haven't felt in ages. It was nice to be recognized by someone. When I got home, I booked an appointment with Rose for next Tuesday. I tried reaching out to Nikki, but no luck. However, Paul got in touch to let me know they were keeping an eye on Nikki and would keep me posted. I let Paul know I was cool with meeting up with Rose, and he said it's good to see me making progress. He'll let me know what's up at the resort. I told him I'll stay chill. After we talked, I tried to chill out but it was hard. Part of me wanted to drown my sorrows in booze, but I knew better. I waited all weekend for updates but didn't hear anything until then. On Sunday around 10:01 a.m., Paul told me that Nikki had taken off with Ramon and his crew earlier that morning. He mentioned that she must have had a jam-packed weekend, listing off all the evidence they gathered. I'll pass on all the details to Nick and can send you a copy if you're curious. Any guesses where they headed? I asked. No idea, Paul confessed, mentioning he left at 9 a.m. Okay, I understand. If she comes back, she should be here around noon. Paul agreed, that's the plan. Let me know if she shows up, he said. Got it, I agreed, ending our conversation. I'll do that, I promised him before we finished chatting. Taking a risk, I called Nikki but it went to voicemail. Nikki, please call me back whenever you can. I left a message. I know you left the resort, call me. I'm hanging up now. I called Kirsten's phone and she. Hey, Ned, you finally picked up on the third ring. So, you missed out on an awesome party, huh? Yeah, I heard about it. Nikki and Ramona took off early. Any clue where they went? I have no idea, she said. I thought they might be heading your way, but I can't say for sure. Do you even care if she comes back? Don't blame me for it, she got all snappy. Nikki is a grown-up, she can do whatever she wants. If she decides not to come back, it's not my problem. So just leave me alone. After she said those words, she ended our conversation. I put my phone in my pocket and sat in the living room to wait. It's crazy how time goes by so slowly when you're staring at the clock. The minutes dragged on, it was almost noon and Nikki still hadn't shown up. I waited anxiously, but she was nowhere to be seen. Another hour went by with no message from Nikki, and she didn't answer my voicemails. I tried using a search app on my phone to find her, but it didn't work. It seemed like she had turned off her phone and taken out the battery, so I couldn't track her down. Damn, I tried checking my email on my computer, but there was jack shit. I kept waiting and getting more and more antsy. By 6 p.m., Nikki still hadn't shown up. I started freaking out, thinking maybe she never made it home or, God forbid, got into a car accident. I called Paul to look into it, and he found out she wasn't in any hospital or had any run-ins with the cops as far as he knew. Then it hit me, I went back to my computer, thinking if she used her. When I checked my card balance at the ATM, I saw a transaction for $1,200 at around 9:45 a.m. on the online banking portal. The airport is close to the resort and this amount maxed out the daily limit I set for a card on Friday. Putting two and two together, I figured she must have run off with Ramon and his crew. So, I opened a new browser window and searched for flights from that airport to Los Angeles, Miami, San Francisco, and Seattle around 11. So, Ramon lives on the West Coast, right? I figured that's where she'd head next. But we'll have to wait for her next credit card usage to be sure. I told Paul about the latest updates. We'll just have to wait until she uses her card again. He thinks it might not happen until tomorrow at the earliest. I pointed out that by then she could be anywhere. Should we report her as missing, he asked. I told him that the police usually need a 24-hour absence before taking action. He decided that waiting is all we can do for now. Any signs of where she might be? Hey, I was watching the video transcripts of where she was supposed to go, and I suggested we really dig into it. Are you down for that? I said I have to do something, there has to be some clue about where she is. Okay, come over to my place and we can go over this more. But I gotta warn you, the footage is pretty disturbing. I don't care, I need to figure out this mystery and find out if she'll ever come back. Then let's go, he insisted. We finished our discussion and I headed over to Paul's house as planned. Donna, Paul's wife, greeted me at the door. Can I get you a drink, Ned? Coffee or maybe a beer, she asked. I replied that I needed to collect my thoughts, so coffee would be great. Thank you, I said. Okay, she said, acknowledging my choice. Paul's in his office, so I'm going straight there, she informed me. When I entered, I saw him going through a large stack of papers. He looked up and said, "Come in, Ned. Take a look and see what you can find." I sat down to review the documents that were handed to me, and as expected, the contents were not pleasant. Nikki was begging for more action in bed, but Ramon and his friends were making crude comments about her looks. It was all pretty gross and immature. I couldn't believe the insults Nikki and her partner were throwing around. Too bad your man couldn't handle it, Ramon smirked. Yeah, he's missing out, Nikki shot back. You'll never touch me again, she told him as he handed me his ring and left. Ramon smirked, you're all mine now. And that's it, he's done. We all started laughing, maybe I'll pee on him just for old time's sake, she joked. We all laughed even harder. In that moment, I couldn't help but think, why did I ever like her? Good riddance to bad rubbish. We amused ourselves as we went through the transcripts, looking for any sign. Suddenly, Paul exclaimed, wait a minute. He interrupted, I think I found something. What is it? I asked. He told me it was late on Saturday night at 11:45 p.m. Hey, check this out and tell me what you think. I started reading a bit before the marked spot to get the context. Man, the boss said she's the best we've had in a while, one of Ramon's colleagues mentioned. We could make a ton of cash with this chick's talents. Do you really think so? Ramon asked. Absolutely, the other guys agreed. What do you say, Ramon? Ready to make some serious money? I'm not some damn Floyd, Nikki replied, causing laughter. No, babe, I'm talking about movies and stuff. Hey, have you seen those online videos of Ramon? He's got an amazing body and a beautiful face. He just does his thing in front of the camera like it's no big deal. I've been thinking about a new series of movies where guys get betrayed and humiliated, and you would be perfect for it. So, when can we start? She asked. We could leave right after the party, if you're down, Ramon suggested. I'll hook you up with a nice spot in LA and you'll be working exclusively for me, of course. I'll take a cut, but you could make a fortune with enough videos. Can I get some more of that stuff you gave me earlier? She asked. And a bit of those euphoria pills, whatever you desire, babe, he assured her. So I get all the love Mac I want and get paid, she questioned. And I get to humiliate losers like Ned. That's the idea, confirmed Ramon. You can count me in, she affirmed. What about your pathetic husband? Inquired one of the accomplices. Are you going to spill the beans to him? Screw him, he's ancient history, she declared. He'll never lay. Ramon said we're leaving at 9 in the morning tomorrow, heading west. She's excited to do it. I gave the transcript back to Paul and asked if we have it on video. He said yes, and put the disc in the computer. He skipped to the timestamp in the transcript and asked if I was ready. I said let's just do it. He played the video. I was peeping through Nikki's window and saw her chilling on the bed with Ramon and his crew. One of them had a camera, and there were shots of white powder on a tray nearby. Nikki was acting strange, so I looked around for anyone else, but didn't see anyone. I wouldn't be shocked if Kyron was in on it too. We watched a video and read the transcript, then they started doing drugs together. I couldn't take it anymore and told Paul to turn it off. Paul showed me a video and pointed out that the girl in it is obviously not being forced to participate, even though she might be high on drugs or something. I told him that there's no way she's being kidnapped, and I didn't see Kirsten in the video, so she probably doesn't even know what's going on. But we should still try to find her just to let her know. Paul asked if I knew anyone in Los Angeles, and I told him I have connections everywhere. I'll take care of it. Make a few calls and let me know what you find. Once you figure it out, tell me. I want to deliver the documents myself. No way, Ned. Paul said that's a no-go. I know you're hurting, but don't get yourself more involved. I know you will. You might do something crazy and I'll have to bail you out of jail. Just stay where you are, let Nick and me deal with this. If you even think about leaving, I'll take away your license. Got it? Okay, I agreed, raising my hands. I'll behave, I promise. You're better off, Paul. I told them I'll make some calls and let Nick know. Don't stress, I'll keep you in the loop. Now go home, chill out, and take a few days off. Actually, consider yourself on vacation starting right now. I can't do that, Paul. I protested. I have a business to run. Everything's good to go, consider it a command. Are you officially on vacation starting now? He repeated. All right, I agreed. I'm on vacation, I'll play nice and head home. We shook hands and I took off, thanking Donna for the heads up. I briefly thought about grabbing a beer, but I decided to drive home instead, and it was a good call because the house phone rang right when I walked into the living room. Hello. I answered when I picked up the phone and saw Kirsten's number on the caller ID. I pressed record on my answering machine. Hey Ned, it's Kirsten, she greeted. Yeah, I see your number, I replied. And just so you know, I'm recording this convo. No worries, she said. I'd do the same if I were you. So, what's up? Hey Kyron, I just wanted to ask you about something. So, I heard from Nikki that she wants me to be her lawyer if you guys end up getting a divorce. Do you know where she is? She said she's in Miami at the moment, but she might be moving around a bit and won't be back soon. I think she might be lying or getting bad info. Oh, she did confirm that's what she told me though. She also mentioned that you're probably thinking about getting a divorce. Yeah, that's right, divorce stuff is happening. Hey, when they're ready, send them over to me, she told me. I'll email you my address. I'll pass along the message, I promised her. Did you know she was planning to ditch me and start doing adult films with Ramon Torres? I asked. Nope, I had no clue, she confessed. I know you might not think much of me, but I'm being honest. I thought she was just messing around with him to get a rise out of you. I didn't know she actually planned to leave. It was a total surprise. When she told me, I know you're a good person deep down, Ned, so please forgive me, did you know about the drugs he gave her? I asked about the white powder and euphoria pills. She said she knew about the euphoria pills, but not the white powder. She mentioned that we all took some euphoria pills that night, but she didn't see any white powder. You know what he does with the girls he recruits, right? I asked. He makes adult films, she explained. He specializes in group videos and humiliation. He's starting a new series featuring older amateur ladies like Nikki, but I had no idea he was interested in her. You didn't answer my question. I reminded her, do you know what he does with them? I don't get you, she replied. Don't act clueless, Kirsten, I said. He uses them, sucks them dry, then throws them out on the streets where they'll do anything for their next fix. Is this what your sister is in for? How long do you think she'll survive? Are you worried about this? Please, I shot back sarcastically, no matter what. I really hate this situation and wouldn't want it for anyone, not even you. Where's your care for your sister? It's not your problem, but I'll take her in before I let this happen to her. She made it clear that I should make sure she knows I insisted. From what I know about him, he'll likely dump her in 5 years, maybe even sooner. I hope you have a spare room ready. Don't worry about the size of my place, she promised. All I need to know is what you want from the divorce. You will. Hey, you'll find out soon enough. I told her everything and she understood. Do you want me to pass a message to Nikki? She asked, but I said no. I don't have anything to say to her right now, so I guess that's it. Once again, Ned, I'm sorry for what happened. Tell your lawyer to send the paperwork to me directly. Any communication should come through me, she said before saying goodbye to Ned. After hanging up, I called Nick and filled him in on what Kirsten said. So, Kirsten was looking out for her sister's interests, then turned around and helped her do something unethical. I asked Nick if that was right, and he said it might not be technically wrong, but it definitely doesn't look good. We'll send Kyron a copy of the documents, but I think we should try to find your wife and tell her in person. There's a good chance Kirsten might mess up sending the paperwork to her sister and then say she wasn't told properly. Do you think she would actually do that? I asked. Yeah, Nick confirmed. You better believe it. Man, I was so shocked by what I saw her do. I'm gonna talk to Paul to see if we can track down Nikki. If not, we'll have to go ahead with a divorce by publication. What does that mean? I asked. Well, if a spouse runs off and we can't find them, we can pay to put a notice in the newspaper. They're likely to see it at least once a week for 4 weeks, he explained. If she's in LA like we think, we'll post it locally and in the LA Times. And yeah, we'll still send a copy to Kirsten, right? I double-checked. Totally texting Kyron doesn't mean Nikki will definitely get the message. Nick said okay, and we kept chatting until we hung up. I grabbed a snack, had a smoke, and hit the hay. Over the next few weeks, we kept an eye on Nikki's ATM transactions and figured she was probably in Long Beach, California. Paul reached out to his buddy in LA, who told him that detectives had spotted her at a few clubs where she was performing on stage. But pinpointing her exact location was still a challenge. Pat Silva, Nikki's boss from the therapy clinic where she works, called to ask about her missing. I told Nikki that her boss decided to switch careers. What do you mean by my career change? Pat asked. Haven't you heard? I replied. She's decided to become an adult film actress, I said. What? Pat exclaimed. Yes, she wants to be in adult films and use drugs, I explained. She's in Southern California right now following her passion. I can't believe she didn't tell you, Pat said. Ned, you better not be joking, Pat warned. I'm afraid it's true, I said. So, she's definitely not coming back, right? Pat wanted to make sure, and I told her I'd be really surprised if she did. Okay, I'll take care of her final payment for her job at Terminator. Pat asked where to send it, and I said for now she can send it to me and I'll pass it on to her lawyer. All right, Ned. Pat said she's sad to hear this and that she'll miss her. Thanks, Pat. I knew our conversation was over. I got Nikki's last paycheck and sent it to Kirsten like I said I would. I wasn't sure about something though. She was related to Nikki, but I didn't really give a damn. I started seeing Dr. Rose for therapy, and she turned out to be amazing, really attentive and understanding. I was so relieved to find out that Dr. Rose didn't blame me for Nikki's behavior like I had feared. By the end of the first month, I was feeling a lot better. Going to the gym regularly also helped improve my well-being. I even lost a few pounds and got on a better diet with John's assistance. Before long, I started to see glimpses of my old self in the mirror. Nick was also caught up in his own stuff at the time. So this guy writes this totally biased divorce paper and puts it in the local and LA papers 2 times a week for a whole month. When the 4th week rolls around, he sends a copy to Kirsten, making her pretty pissed off. She demands a quick meeting with me and Nick in his office, wondering what the hell is going on. She's like, why are we meeting? This is more of an insult than a divorce paper. And why is she asking for a 7,000/525 split with no spousal support? The real disgrace is what your client did to her husband, with your help. I gotta say, my client and I think it's best to go ahead with the divorce, especially since she's the one who wants it. Nick said she didn't even try to get her stuff from my client's place, and he hasn't even been officially served with divorce papers yet. Kirsten was pissed off because your client was avoiding being found in LA. Nick explained that we had to publish a notice for the divorce since we didn't have her address and you weren't being helpful in telling us where she was. We recently issued a fourth notice to both parties. Hey, so basically, in the local LA papers, there's this whole drama going on. This chick threatened Nick, who responded with, "As you wish." There was some contest, some pointless motions filed, and she even asked for therapy which the judge reluctantly approved. Nick was surprised when he heard about it but reassured me that Judge Potter hates traitors and is all about law enforcement. Kirsten thinks she's calling the shots, but really she's just letting Nikki dig her own grave. I asked what he meant by that and apparently Nikki probably won't show up to whatever it is. During therapy, Judge Potter predicted that he hated when people didn't follow his orders. If she disobeys, he'll probably issue a warrant for her arrest, which is what I want. I told him I got to the counselor's office on time, as the court had appointed, but, as I expected, she didn't show up. The counselor, Judy McGregor, had helped me before when I was shot. We chatted for an hour and I told her my story. She figured I wasn't gonna make up with my wife, and I agreed. So, that's that. Got it, I'll tell the judge about this along with the fact that she's not here. Good luck, Ned. It was great seeing you again. According to what Nick said later on, Judge Potter was pissed off at Nikki for not following his rules and issued a warrant for her arrest. He told me that the warrant was still active for years. We then checked her ATM activity and found out that most of her transactions were in Long Beach, but she also made withdrawals in San Francisco and San Diego during the same time. Seems like she's been real busy lately. I did some digging and found some little videos of her in action. After watching for just a few minutes, I noticed they all had the same group scenes of her getting down and dirty, supposedly to humiliate her husband. It made me sick to my stomach, realizing that's probably what she had planned for me. Finally, we had our court date set. I met up with Nick at the courthouse and we walked in together. I looked around and saw Kyron, but Nikki was nowhere to be seen when it was our turn. When Nick and I walked up to the bench and sat down, we saw Kyron sitting alone at her table. Judge Potter wasn't happy about her being there alone and asked where her client was. Kirsten replied that she wasn't feeling well at the moment. Judge Potter questioned her health, wondering what that meant. Kirsten explained that she was working. The judge was surprised and said she's an adult film actress, for crying out loud. He asked if her career was more important than the divorce. Kirsten was like, "Sorry, Judge, I can't make it." Judge Potter sighed and checked the papers in front of him. "Fine," he said, "I'll issue another court order and finalize the divorce today." "But wait, we still need to submit motions," Kirsten butted in. "I've seen enough," the judge responded, clearly annoyed. After thinking for a moment, he continued, saying that even though there are rules for court awards, it's important to consider the specifics of each case. All right, so the judge can pretty much decide however they want on who gets what in a divorce. After thinking about it, I can see the pros and cons of both sides. You've got this ex-cop who saved an old lady's life, but then there's this woman who's a drug-addicted porn star that cheated on her husband to live a wild life. And I heard you were involved in all this, right? To help out some of your clients, I gotta say, this is pretty messed up. I reached out to the state bar and they said no rules were broken, but you were teetering on the edge. Just be careful next time, he declared, slamming his gavel. After reviewing all the evidence in the lawyer's report, I have to approve the plaintiff's divorce request as submitted, he added. Good luck, Mr. Carson, and thanks for all you do for the community, he concluded. Hey Nick, did we really just win? I asked, surprised. He grinned and reached out his hand. Absolutely, Ned. Congratulations, you're a free man now, he confirmed, shaking my hand. Kirsten picked up her bags and came over to us. Congrats, Ned, she said, shaking my hand. You got your revenge, I hope that brings you some peace. I shook her hand back, knowing that losing this case would have been tough for her. No, I'm not happy, I admitted. I haven't been happy in a long time. I took out a DVD from my briefcase and showed it to them. So, you told me before that if I needed to get a message to Nikki, I should tell you. Well, this is my last message to her. Feel free to read it, I don't really care. Also, I have a cashier's check for her share of the account that I closed last night. I'll make sure she gets it. Oh, she also asked about what's on the DVD, just a simple message, nothing special. But in reality, it's more than just a message. Yesterday, I dragged a 50-gallon drum into the backyard and set up a camera. So I found the tripod while it was still rolling, and I packed up all of her stuff she left behind, even her expensive 20500 wedding dress. I chucked all the photos I had of her and all the little trinkets she collected over the years into the drum, and even smashed the wedding portrait hanging above our bed. Then I poured lighter fluid all over it and lit it up. As it burned, I looked at the camera and said, "Nikki, listen up. I used to be ready to take a bullet for you when we were together. I was head over heels for you, imagining us growing old together. Sorry, but you had other plans, so our future together won't happen. I've seen some of your work online and I can't help but feel like it was meant for me, but it's not gonna happen. Don't even bother asking about being friends, because friends don't cause the pain you did. And don't expect me to forgive you, it's not gonna happen. I just hope you wake up and see the reality before it's too late. Goodbye, Nikki," I said as I walked out, leaving the camera to capture the final destruction of your stuff. Life in the house kept going after I fixed it up post Nikki. I got rid of anything that reminded me of my ex-wife. I kept up with my appointments with Rose, hit the gym 3 times a week, stuck to our food plan, and kicked my smoking habit. A few months later, I stepped on the scale and saw I had dropped down to 184 pounds. There was still more work to do, but I felt better than I had in years. The only thing missing was the friendship I used to have with Nikki. And then, fate stepped in. I accidentally bumped into her while grocery shopping at the local store. Oops, my bad. I wasn't paying attention and made a mistake. I said sorry a bunch of times and then she hit me with the sweetest smile. It was so captivating, I forgot to breathe for a second. When I introduced myself, I noticed she wasn't wearing any rings on her fingers. She accepted my apology and said her name was Brenda Wilkins. We started chatting and I somehow mustered up the courage to ask her out to dinner. To my surprise, she said yes. Turns out, Brenda was a widowed doctor. Her husband and young son died tragically in a car accident. A few years back, I got into a wreck on the way home from a camping trip with my dad. I was chatting with Brenda about my divorce from Nikki when I mentioned my diabetes and how my meds were affecting me. She totally got it and suggested I bring my meds to her office so we could figure out some options. I brought all my pills with me and Brenda was shocked to see them all. After doing some tests, she recommended a few changes and we scheduled another appointment. I noticed a big change right away. She emphasized how important it was to eat well, exercise, and quit smoking, and that really helped me succeed. The first time we slept together, I felt like a whole new person. It had been over 2 years since I woke up feeling satisfied, but seeing Brenda's beautiful face the next morning made me realize I couldn't give up this newfound happiness. After I proposed, she showered me with kisses. When we got married, we sold our own houses, combined our money, and bought a brand new house in a newly built neighborhood. In our hood, we both knew we needed a fresh start to leave the past behind. Brenda popped out twins, Christopher and Julie, not long after we tied the knot. Life kept rolling for the Carsons, and about 10 years into our marriage, I finally understood the joy of being a parent. One day, there was a knock on our door and it swung open to reveal Kirsten, looking beat. "Good to see you again," she said, and I replied with a warm welcome. After she settled in, I introduced her to Brenda and the kids. "What brings you here?" So I asked Nikki about it, and she confirmed that you were right about Ramon. I was curious and wanted to know more. It took a while, but she eventually confessed that he took advantage of her, just like you had warned. She admitted that she resorted to doing tricks on the streets to fund her drug habit. Sadly, women in her situation don't last long in that environment. She managed to survive on her own for a bit, but eventually hit rock bottom. She was found unconscious in an alley and has been taken to a rehab center. I found out about this a few months ago and asked her to come here. She's fighting cancer and the doctors say it's not looking good. You promised you wouldn't let her get to this point. I asked what happened. We lost touch about 6 years ago. She said the authorities in Los Angeles got in touch with me, so I flew out to visit her. She's not doing well, and it's really sad to hear that. What do you want from me? Kirsten asked for more details. She wants closure. Kyron explained, mentioning Nikki. She wants to see you one last time. I know you're mad at her and me. Hey, I'm asking you to please have a heart and grant her one last wish. It was a surprise when Kyron asked for this favor. When I looked at Brenda, I could tell she was worried. What do you think? I asked her. Kirsten is right, honey, she confirmed. She needs closure. You know it too. How bad is her cancer? Brenda asked Kirsten. It's bad, Kirsten replied. The cancer has spread all over her body. The doctor said if they had caught it earlier, there might have been a chance. But now. It's really bad. They said she only has a few months or maybe just hours left. I accepted and said I would go visit her. Brenda said she would come with me and I agreed, then I got a babysitter. Luckily, our neighbor's teenager Carla was free. When Carla got there, Brenda and I took Kirsten to the hospice. When we got there, Kirsten took us to Nikki's room. I was shocked when she went in. She looked completely different, with tubes sticking out of her weak body and her beautiful face looking so different. Her face looked tired and pale, like all her sparkle had vanished. As I stood next to her bed, she opened her eyes and whispered, a tear rolling down her cheek, "Is that really you? You look great." "Yes, it's me, Nikki," I replied. "I'm so sorry," she gasped, tears streaming down her face. "I messed up so bad, I ruined everything. I know you said you'd never forgive me, but please, I beg you, it hurts so much. Please forgive me." Looking at Brenda, I could see tears filling up in her eyes. I knew what she meant. I had a lot to do, but it was gonna be really tough. So I just sat down and held her hand. It felt cool. "It's all good, Nikki," I said to comfort her. "I forgive you." She started crying and grabbed onto my shirt with her other hand. I hugged her and let her cry on my shoulder. A nurse came in, checked her paperwork, and gave her something in her fore to help her sleep. She explained it to us before leaving. As Nikki dozed off, I gently moved her head onto the pillow. Kyron thanked me for being there, and I just nodded in response. "Crazy, right? How long are you gonna stay?" "I'll stay until the end," she whispered. "I've decided to work from home. There won't be a memorial service." That's what she wanted. "What happened to Ramon?" I asked. Kirsten took out a newspaper clipping from her bag. "When he kicked her out, he replaced her with another girl," she said. "Her husband didn't take it well and ended up killing him brutally." I quickly read the article. "It says he was disfigured," I told Kirsten. "Yes," she confirmed. "Wow," I muttered. "And are they sure her husband was to blame?" "So," I asked her, and she said yes. "Witnesses saw him leaving the warehouse, but he was let off the hook because he was apparently crazy for a moment," she told me. "I get it now," I said. I felt the same way. "Sorry, Ned," she apologized. "For everything," I replied quietly. "Anyway, we both felt bad after watching the video you sent me," she continued. "I never really thought about cheating until I saw that. Before that, it was all about me having fun. But now, my perspective has changed. I had no idea how much pain betrayal could cause. I was thinking about how pricey it could be, but then I looked at Nikki and said, thank you. I ain't the same woman I was 10 years ago. Kirsten, take care of yourself. Ned, she whispered, giving me a hug, and look after my ex-brother-in-law. She went up to Brenda and hugged her. You can count on it, Brenda reassured her, returning the hug. We left and got back in the car. You okay, Brenda? I asked as we buckled our seatbelts. Yeah, I'm good, she replied. Start the car, karma might be hitting us hard, I thought to myself. So, here's the deal. This year we decided to switch things up for Thanksgiving and spent it with my wife's family. For the past 18 years, we always hosted the dinner at our place, but since the kids have moved out, we thought it was time for a change. Josh headed off to Alabama and Jordan decided on Auburn. I swear they did it just to stir up drama in the family. It used to be a great tradition, but now things are different. I've been working as an insurance claims adjuster for 15 years and let me tell you, I hate my job. I've always dreamed of working outdoors and doing something more hands-on. Yeah, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to be stuck at a desk any longer. My family situation made me feel trapped in my job. Connie hasn't worked in years. The kids have been busy with sports and stuff. I've been more involved with them while Connie has been more laid back but supportive. She spends more time with her parents, who are in their late 60s and still pretty healthy, but starting to feel the weight of getting older. Every few years, they come over for Thanksgiving, but we never go to their place. The weekend was supposed to be chill, and the weather was great. Southwest, the drive there was easy. Connie's dad and I had a good chat while Connie and her mom cooked dinner. It was just the four of us, but everything went smoothly. The food was amazing, and we had a good time. Connie's dad and I were excited for a night of football and beer, but Connie's mom just wanted to be left alone. "Hey John, I'm gonna chill with my old high school buddy Harriet Miller today. Haven't seen her in like forever. You and Dad will be cool, right?" "We'll be fine, babe, take your time. Just don't go getting drunk." Teresa, Connie's mom, just left after cleaning up. I grabbed a couple of cold ones for me and Frank. "Where did Connie go?" "Oh yeah, she said she was gonna hang with her old friend Harriet Miller." "That's cool, she's probably gonna chill there for most of the night." She gave me a weird smile, hinting she'll be back later. It was a nice and peaceful evening. Teresa was reading in the living room while Frank and I were struggling to watch the football games. "Hey John, can you grab some beers from the fridge? I think we need to chat when I get back." When I returned, Frank had closed the door between the office and the living room. "What did you want to talk about?" "Okay, so let's talk about Frank first. Just so you know, Harriet Miller passed away from colon cancer about 6 months ago. I'm not sure why Connie said she was going to visit her, maybe she got confused with someone else. I didn't say anything back to him, but I think it's just some inside joke between Connie and her mom. They seem to have some little secrets that I'm not in on. Are you suggesting there's something sketchy going on that I don't know about? What exactly are you trying to say?" "It's been going on for like the past 5 years, which is why Connie has been coming around so much." "What are you getting at?" "I'm a bit confused. When Connie has been visiting us lately, she doesn't stay here. I'm not sure where she goes, but I was told to mind my own business." "Are you suggesting that Connie is up to no good and her mom is helping her out?" "I knew you were a smart cookie." I finished my drink, and we both seemed into the game. We didn't. We talked about it for a while, but then time went by and Frank started nodding off. I started wondering what my wife was doing, so I took out my phone and started messing around with it. Connie had turned off the Find My Phone feature, so I tried playing with it a bit, but it didn't work. I didn't call her, but I figured her phone was still on. I started thinking about how the cops always seem to be able to track a phone, but I can't. I made some fresh coffee, and Frank fell asleep in his chair. Teresa put a blanket over him before going to bed. Connie finally made it home, so how's Harriet? I tried to act chill. She's good, they've redone the whole house now that the kids are out. It looks great. The only issue was I had too much wine. I shouldn't have driven home, I admitted. John didn't say anything. I'm dead tired, I'm gonna take a quick shower before crashing. We can chat in the morning, cool. I filled up a thermos with coffee, and I snuck Connie's phone into my pocket as I left. Right before I walked out, I heard Frank whisper, "Go get them." Tiger. I didn't really get what he was saying, but it made me smile. There wasn't really a plan, so I just sat there and waited for the engine to warm up. Eventually, I decided to just use the car's GPS system. I was hoping to get something out of it other than just finding the nearest McDonald's. I checked the navigation history and found breadcrumbs, everything was there. I had a nice little line of red dots showing me where my lovely wife was that day. I didn't even know where Harriet lived, but it didn't really matter. I just had to follow the yellow brick road, which was basically a path marked with red dots. After 15 minutes, I ended up in a shady area in front of a small brick house with a single-car garage. This had to be the spot because the dots turned back around. I whipped out my phone and opened up maps. It took some maneuvering, but after a couple of minutes, I realized I was right in front of 321 David Drive. If I knew what I was doing, I could figure out the rest in no time. I had no clue what I was doing, but I accidentally found out that Henry Parker owned the mansion. Henry Parker was a school buddy of Carnegie, if I'm not mistaken. I even took her to prom, so she went to catch up with an old friend and hang out with him. It doesn't necessarily mean they were getting it on all day. It could have happened, but I had no proof. All I had was enough to mess up my marriage a bit. I hated being stuck in this situation. I was about to head back home, but at the last minute, I changed my mind and stayed. Okay, so I was gathering breadcrumbs and it seems like that was the right move. Turns out Carney didn't go straight to Henry's house, she made a pit stop at a nearby pharmacy. Now, what am I supposed to do with this info? I switched on the car's interior light and rummaged around for an empty paper bag and seat, but found nothing. Connie, of course, always paid with her credit card and never with cash. I turned on her phone and tapped on the bank app. Everything was in order. The purchase history led me to. So I went to the pharmacy and got a receipt for what my wife bought today at 3:45 p.m. She got a pack of condoms for $789 and some anal lube for $110. Crazy, right? There were 12 condoms in the pack, so I hope she's not wasting them. Anyway, I was ready to go home, but I had one more thing to do. I saved a pic of the receipt on my phone, then I messed around with the settings until I figured out how to set it up right. Put the receipt pic as her wallpaper, then set it as default on her phone. Every time she opened her phone, it was the first thing she saw. I knew she wouldn't be able to get rid of it without realizing I knew what she did. I also sent a copy to myself. 20 minutes later, I was back home. Frank was still knocked out in his chair, Teresa was probably upstairs, and my wife was asleep in the guest room. I quietly grabbed all my stuff. Stuff in hand, I walked downstairs. I left Connie's phone and my wedding ring on the kitchen table, no note needed. As I was about to walk out the door, I ran into my father-in-law. "How'd it go, John?" he asked, smiling and giving me a little wave. 5 hours later, I was back home. Another 5 hours and I was on my way to Florida. No more crappy job, no more crappy weather, no more cheating wife. I thought about stopping to see the boys, but I changed my mind. Hey, so for some weird reason I ended up in Baldwin County, Alabama instead of Florida. It's crazy, there are like so many abandoned trailers here. Retirees buy them and then when they pass away, their heirs are stuck paying for the utilities until they can sell them. Sometimes it takes forever. So there were a ton of rental options available. Within a week, I had a new address, new driver's license, and a new bank account. I closed all my accounts in Pennsylvania after declaring Alabama as my new home. I reached out to both Alabama and Auburn. So, to get the kid's residency status changed, I moved all the money from every account, even dipped into his college funds. Being a good guy, I paid off all the credit cards before shutting them down. Connie still had a store card, but I canceled the insurance on her house and car. The car and cell phone were in her name. I was gonna cancel the utilities too, but last minute I decided against it. I wasn't exactly hiding, but I didn't tell anyone where I was. I won't go into all the nitty-gritty details. The other stuff I had to do, you've heard this story a million times. I called up all the guys and tried to explain the situation without looking like an idiot. They were mad and confused at first, but eventually they got it. I ended up getting a job at a shipyard scraping barnacles off boats. They didn't want to hire me officially because of insurance, so I just worked off the books. It didn't bother me though, I wasn't doing anything illegal. I signed up for a $10 a month gym membership at the new fitness center. I wasn't really into joining a gym, but I needed a decent place to shower after work. The bathroom and the rented trailer were just okay. After showering, I usually grab some food or take something to go. I got used to the routine quickly and became a happy wanderer. "Hey Frank, it's John. Just wanted to see how you're doing." "Hey man, good to hear from you. It's been almost 4 months, right?" "Yeah, almost. I've been busy settling in. My phone has been. Man, I've been MIA for a while now, only turning on my phone when I need to order food. So what's up with you?" "I rented a little trailer and got a job at a boatyard nearby. I've already lost almost 10 kilograms without even trying to diet. The guys are coming for spring break and I'm excited to see them, but I'm not looking forward to explaining why I dipped out. We'll see how it goes. I'm glad to hear you're doing okay. Everything's been going downhill here. Has your wife reached out at all, Frank? I haven't heard from her at all. Man, not a single text on my phone. I was totally expecting a bunch of angry calls, but nothing. Just spam calls. What the heck is happening? I swear, I could hear Frank laughing on the other line. John, you won't believe it. Connie and her mom were celebrating for a whole week after you left. Teresa wasted no time taking down your wedding photo and putting up one of Connie and Henry at prom. Can you believe that? Man, even though she had that picture, I knew there would be some drama, but this is next level. I guess everyone's satisfied now, but not really. When Connie got back home, she couldn't even afford the bills, let alone the mortgage. Everything went downhill fast. The house is going back to the bank next month and she still owes for the utilities. She can't even pay her store account. How is she even surviving? She was supposed to move in with us, but last minute she decided to move in with Henry. I was relieved that she was pissed that you closed all the bank accounts, but she wasn't pissed enough to reach out to you about it. She seems pretty willing to support herself. Frank and I talked for a bit longer, and I promised to call again when the boys went back to school. I had mixed feelings about the whole thing. On one hand, I was glad to get through it without any harm, but on the other hand, I was a little annoyed that she showed absolutely no remorse. Maybe I was wrong. The boys stayed for a week, but honestly, they spent most of their time at Gulf Shores or Panama City Beach. They wouldn't even talk about the marriage. They just called each of them once to say I left, no other details. They haven't heard anything else about her. They were happy to hear I could still pay for their education. I told them to get Alabama driver's licenses and use my address. I had no personal life. I didn't go to bars. All the waitresses at the restaurants I went to were either too young, too old, or too desperate. I started working out at the gym just because I was bored. Man, I was bored out of my mind, nothing like those steamy stories I read. Nothing exciting ever happened where I lived. Most of my neighbors were old folks on Social Security. I ended up getting addicted to watching YouTube videos, and before I knew it, 2 years had passed. Nobody ever came knocking on my door, especially not on a Sunday morning. But one day, I finally decided to see who it was just to get them to stop. And guess who it was? Freaking Frank. How the heck did he find me? He said he stopped by Jordan's place before coming here, and Jordan gave him directions. Couldn't find Josh though. Hey, you got any cold beer for a tired guy? Hey traveler, it's 6 in the morning. Wouldn't coffee be better? Got any? I had enough stuff to make a decent breakfast, one of my many flaws. We talked and ate until I asked the main question, what the hell are you doing here? I had some trouble and felt it was time to leave Keystone State. I didn't answer. Frank leaned back in his chair and tried to get comfy. Connie and Henry got hitched on Saturday morning. I didn't even know I was divorced. That's interesting, but that doesn't seem like a good enough reason to leave while everyone was at church. I went and set Henry's house on fire. Now that's more exciting. I don't know how it all went down, haven't seen them since. Well, I guess they'll have to crash at Teresa's place for now. Nope, not happening. I gave him a puzzled look. I actually burned down my own house before leaving. And then, to top it off, Josh and Jordan showed up out of the blue. What did I do to deserve this visit? Frank and I helped them with their bags. So, I was trying to figure out where Grandpa went and I thought Josh must have gone to Mexico. Were you guys both at the wedding? It was actually wild, not what we were expecting at all. Jordan looked like he was trying not to burst out laughing. Frank elbowed me and said, John, I think your boys are playing a prank on us. I grabbed 4 beers from the fridge and asked, so, how do you guys like your new stepdad? That made both of them chuckle. I was like, what's so funny? Turns out, they never actually got married. Dad interrupted the ceremony. So, like, someone called and said Henry's house was on fire. Everyone freaked out and ran to see what was happening. Turns out, Grandma and Grandpa's house was on fire too. Mom kept trying to get Henry to finish the ceremony, but he got mad, yelled that the wedding was off, and stormed out. We had nowhere to stay, so we came straight here. Josh and Jordan stayed with us for a few days then went back to school. Some people came looking for us. So, Frank and I managed to steer clear of those people and ended up hanging out in Ocala instead. After a few weeks, they stopped bothering us. Frank found a job at a building material store, and things got way more exciting. He was way more outgoing than me, so suddenly I had a social life. Out of nowhere, we started going to cooking classes, hitting up bars and parties, and even attending birthdays, funerals, and a couple of weddings. That's where I met RG and Sue Baker. RG was a divorced lady who worked in the gardening section at the building store. So basically, I bumped into Frank a few times at different events and we ended up kinda becoming a couple. One thing led to another and 6 months later, she moved in with me in my trailer after Frank moved out. She found herself a rich widow with a condo in Orange Beach named Margie. We never got married but we bought the trailer together. She talked me into quitting my job at the shipyard and now we both work at the materials store. Thanks for listening to today's story, hope you liked it. Hey guys, don't forget to give my essay a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you've got a story to share about your own situation or someone else's, feel free to reach out to me. Take care.